Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics, and today I'm going to do the top 10 challenge that Alan did about the top 5 war covers that he did last week. Now, in my case, when it comes to war comics, the vast majority of war comics I own are in showcase collections, such as Men of War or The Unknown Soldier and that stuff. So I don't have that many war books per se. So the amount of books that I had to pick covers was pretty limited. However, I did manage to find 10 that I liked, and I'm going to show you those today as I want to be part of the challenge. First book I have is PT Boat Skipper Captain Storm number 13. There's a Japanese sub burning in the background, and the Captain Storm and the captain of the submarine are fighting in the water below. Next up, we have Our Fighting Forces number 151, featuring the losers. Now, what I like about this cover is the fact that the comment on the top is the guy saying, "No one around to stop us on this mission, guys. Once we cross the bridge, we're in, Storm." He's talking to Captain Storm, of course. And boom, sure enough, underneath there's a big squad of Nazis waiting for them. So, of course, they're not getting in as cleanly as they think. And, well, according to the title, they're losers. So, this is Our Fighting Forces 151. Next up, we have GI Combat number 263 with some floating heads on the cover, but the floating heads represent some guys that are in the book that are very heroic. And therefore, I consider it to be a pretty good cover as a result. They're guys that work for basically the Office of American Strategic, or I think it's the OAS that they were called before they were the CIA, as well as the military, I believe, and thus making it a pretty interesting story. Plus, of course, there's 4 stories in this because this is one of the GI Combat big books that cost $1.50 Canadian at the time. Yes, this is a Canadian price variant. So now, to break the DC, here is the Nom 2. Most war books, of course, cover World War II with a smaller bit of the Korean War, certainly on the EC side. However, and just about every DC war book and Marvel war book and Charlton war book done from the 60s on covered the World War II period. This book, when it came out, was controversial because Vietnam, although it was about 20 years removed, when 15 to 20 years removed when it started coming out. This is issue 2, and this is 1986. The It was still controversial because of all the homeless veterans and the fight with PTSD and stuff like that. So when this first came out, people were like weary of it, but veterans, the vast majority of Vietnam veterans, like this book because they found it realistic. So this is the Nom 2. The rest of the books I have to show are from Weird War Tales. Think of it as half horror, half war, but they actually fall under the war category because I've not seen these listed as a horror book, but I have seen this listed as a war book in most places where I've seen the definition of stuff. I've yet to really see Weird War on a horror side. So this here is my oldest one, I believe. This is Weird War Tales 46. And it's Bronze Age, which is pretty much is all the. This title ended with most of the other war titles in the early 80s. So I'd say 82, 83 was when all the titles ended, with the exception of Sergeant Rock, which made it to 84. But anyway, what I like about this cover is you've got the guy with the big dagger that's standing out right there, and he's going towards the enemy soldier. And there's a whole bunch of skeletons in the background. I'm not sure if you can see those or not, but they're there, and it's a pretty cool look. Next up, I've decided to go with Weird War Tales number 75 because I like the picture of the guy with the tank coming towards a tank with skeletons on it. Again, these are primary World War II stories, as you can tell by the swastika on the side of the tank. Now, one of the things I liked about Weird War Tales, they brought in a couple of characters. They brought in the GI robot, which I have a couple of, but I didn't pick any for this one. But also a group called the Creature Commando. Oh, wait, sorry, GI robot is on this cover. The Creature Commandos. The Creature Commandos apparently are getting a movie by James Gunn. So Weird War Tales as a book is probably going to end up being sold a lot more. This is issue 111. It has GI Robot on the cover, as well as all the members of the Creature Commandos that were in the group at the time. Because Medusa wasn't there at first, but she is here now. This is a great book. I actually really enjoyed reading this one. The way that the Creature Commandos end up teaming up with the GI Robot has a great ending to the story. And if you're going to pick any book up from this, this is the one I recommend you do. Next up, we have Weird War Tales 53, which I picked because I like the picture of the dead American soldier whose ghost is coming out to deal with the Nazi ghost riding a skeletal horse. I just think this is an interesting, and to me, this particular story was more horror than war. But again, doesn't make any horror lists, but it makes war lists. Weird War Tales is actually in the top 10 of war titles for collecting. At most DC is, because DC was always the most popular of the war books. Next up, we have issue 51 of Weird War Tales. I like this because you've got the Nazi skeleton riding a crazy monster that's winged and scattering a bunch of GIs, Americans. And they're going crazy. About trying to run away from the bat. It was okay, but not as good as the Creature Commandos. This actually, last one is probably my favorite story after the other one, certainly from Weird War Tales. This is issue number 50. And this one actually has a bit of an Indiana Jones feel to it as well, because the story is about the Spear of Death, as well as being a war story. Here you see the spear being held by a Nazi skeleton going after. And if there's one thing that anybody who's seen Castle Wolfenstein, for example, the video game, knows, there's always the stories, the sci-fi thing of Nazi monsters is always been around because of the Mengele and other doctors like that became a story that became pretty big around all these places that people believed in and such. Anyway, those are my 10. Those are the top 10 covers of the books I own. As I said, I own mostly books like this, where it's the showcase versions, like Men of War. So I've read a lot of war books, but I don't own a lot of individual books. Anyway, please like, subscribe, comment if you liked below what you liked, what you didn't like. Hit the notification if you want to be notified of my videos as they come in. And if you want to be part of this challenge, all you got to do is grab your top 10 war covers, show them off, talk about them a little, and hashtag Friday Comic Challenge and hashtag war covers. Those are the ones that Alan used this week. And if you want to tag Alan, you can tag the Comic Collector Geek in your description, and he'll see it. Um, but I hope that you'll do it because you're proud of your books and you want to have some fun with them. Like myself, I'm just doing this for the sake of showing off some of the regular of the books I don't show off on a regular basis. Anyway, my name's Matt, and I like comics, and I hope you do too.